What up guys, hope your day is going good. Today we're going to be installing a new throttle cable on a Polaris Axys, as well as I'll show you how to keep your throttle from freezing and keep it lubed up. So the reason I'm replacing my throttle cable is right here. You can tell right at the throttle here, it's really starting to fray. It's about on its last couple strands there, so I definitely need to get this replaced. So first thing we're going to do is remove the lower portion, and then we'll come right back to this. Alright, so I've already started taking a few things off of the sled. You'll need to get all 3 panels off, as well as you'll need to take your muffler off. Now you'll need to gain access to the back side of the motor where the throttle cable meets the throttle bodies. Now you can see down in there where the throttle cable meets the throttle body, right there. So how I've started taking it off is I've started loosening that top nut. It's a 10mm. To get in there, I already have my clutches off of the sled, so it made it a little bit easier to get in through this left-hand side, but I was able to sneak a wrench in and get around that nut to be able to start loosening it. Alright, so I've taken it off just to make it a little bit easier to kind of explain this, but essentially where this mounts to back here, you need to completely remove this nut right here so that you can slip this out from the top, because the notch back here for where this mounts to is not big enough to be able to slide it forward, so you need to be able to pull it straight out. But first you need to get this throttle cable end off the throttle body itself. So what I did was reach 2 hands and work the throttle body backwards to get the cable portion through the slot. Basically, you'll rotate it forward in its little slot and then push towards you on the right hand side. You'll push towards you this way and it'll come straight out. It'll all have to be done by feel because you really can't see in there. So just take your time and you should be able to get it done right. Okay, moving up top here, this portion is pretty easy. I've already taken it off. Push your throttle all the way to the bars and then the cable end should come right out. Just like that. Now since I have an aftermarket throttle block here, it is going to be a little bit different from what you'll have if you have a stock throttle block. How it mounts here is basically the same. There's a very small push clip in here that you need to use a small flathead screwdriver to push out so that you can get this throttle cable out. This is that little clip I was talking about, so don't lose it. You're going to need it when you reinstall your new throttle cable. And then your throttle cable just pulls straight out. Now you should be able to snake your throttle cable out through the top here with no problem. Just like that. Now one thing that is really important to check and to adjust on the new throttle cable is your adjuster portion right here. Now one issue that I had last year was these 2 rubber pieces coming apart for some reason, so I just put electrical tape around it and I didn't have any other issues the rest of the year. Now with this new cable, I do believe that this is the older design with the metal adjustment here rather than the plastic, but this will still work since everything else is still the same. Alright, now we're going to snake the new one back down the hole here. And then we'll put the cable into the throttle block. And then taking your little clip here, putting that in. Now you may need to use a flathead or a set of pliers just to kind of persuade the little clip to go in. Hook up your throttle cable end. Just kind of slips in there just like that. And to get the new throttle cable hooked up to the throttle bodies is just the reverse process of when we were taking the old one out. One thing I did forget to mention was there's a little clip right here for the throttle cable to go through as well. Alright, we are all good to go. I did have to loosen up the boots on the airbox here and push it out of the way enough to be able to get my hands down in there to be able to get the throttle cable end on. Now we just need to button things up and we're all done. Next up, I'm going to show you guys how to lube up your cable as well as keep it from freezing while you're riding. So to do this, you are going to need to disconnect your throttle cable. You're going to need to pull it out like so. Push the little rubber end off. The bigger end of your cable luber tool here will go around the metal portion of your throttle cable and then just tighten it up. Don't over tighten it, just snug it up. And now you'll either take your WD-40 or the cable lube that Motion Pro actually makes themselves. You can use either one. I've always used WD-40, but this stuff does work as well. And all you're simply gonna do, there's a little hole right here on this gold portion of the tool here. You're gonna insert the straw into there and just give it a couple sprays. Now you might get a little WD-40 spraying out, but that's okay. As long as you've got a couple sprays in there, you'll be fine. and then just replace your throttle cable and you're all set. Alright guys, that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll put a link in the description for the cable lube tool as well as the throttle cable if you need it. If you are stopping in for the first time, please consider subscribing and we'll see you next time. Thanks.